In this video, we're going to talk about how to research, how to basically find the administrative law decisions we mentioned in the earlier video. So let's just spend 1 second talking about publication. So the official publications from the federal agencies, they vary quite a bit in how timely they are and how they're organized can be different. But luckily, increasingly, these decisions are available freely on agency websites, so that's one really good place to look for agency decisions. In terms of figuring out the types of decisions an agency might publish, some of them are listed in your Blue Book Table 1, at least at the federal level, but I really recommend a research guide or a finding aid to figure out just the types of decisions that might be available or that might be published by an agency. So I've just given you some examples of some different types of finding aids here. One is from the U.S. Citizens and Immigration Service. It actually talks about a lot of different things, but this is a blurb about what precedent decisions are, and also it gives you where you can find them. The second one is a web page by NYU Law, and it's much longer than the clip that I've given you, but it's a web guide about finding immigration law, which lists all the sources, including the administrative law sources, and where you can find immigration law decisions at the agency level. The final source is a loose leaf book. It's called Specialized Legal Research. This is an example of a print research guide. It covers research in many different areas, but most of the areas have a chapter on doing administrative law research, including the types of agency decisions that would be available for a particular area of law. So there's a lot of different places you can find agency decisions, and you can probably tell that from this slide. So some of the agencies actually have their own print reporters. That white book is actually an example of one of those. The agency websites, as I mentioned, are a good place to look for agency decisions. Lexis, Westlaw, and Bloomberg Law all have agency decisions. In addition, we've looked at a couple of platforms in class. The CCH IntelliConnect platform, which CCH also prints books, that would be a place that you could look as well. And that's one of the examples. The black books that you can't read the title is a CCH set. And the other place that we've looked in class is the BNA website. And you know that some of the BNA materials now we're finding on Bloomberg Law as well. In addition to these online platforms, the books that make up some of these online platforms, the BNA and the IntelliConnect, are also still published in a loose leaf format, and that might be something you see where you work. So here's an example of how we would find the administrative decisions on Westlaw Next. It's right off the main page. It's really easy. And then once you've clicked into administrative decisions and guidance, what I've shown you here is that toolbar you're used to looking at on the right for the administrative decisions and guidance. And what I wanted to point out to you is that they have an index to the different databases that they have on Westlaw. On Lexis Advance, there's a couple different ways to go about figuring out what Lexis Advance has in terms of coverage. One of the best ways is to use the browse sources, and once you've browsed to the used browse sources, you can select administrative materials, and if you're looking for the federal titles, U.S. federal titles. So you can see that the different materials that Lexis Advanced has in terms of decisions at, let's just look at one of these, the Department of Energy Board of Contracts Appeals decisions, for example. The other way, of course, you could do it is to use your filter boxes from your main search bar and filter that way and run a search for decisions. Bloomberg Law, one of the easiest ways to get into regulatory materials is by using the practice centers. Here I've gone in and chosen the Securities Law Practice Center, and I've highlighted for you a couple of the resources that would be available in this practice center on Bloomberg Law. One of them I clicked into regulatory agencies, which is what I had opened up on the right, and you can see there they have administrative proceedings, they have comment letters, so there are different things that would be available by clicking on that regulatory agencies tab. The other materials they have would be the BNA materials we were talking about earlier. One database that we've used in class before is Hein Online, and we've gotten to that from our law library database list. There are a couple of different collections here that have administrative decision materials. So there's a state attorney general reports and opinions that's new actually, that's available. There's also the U.S. Attorney General Department Justice Collection has attorney general decisions there. And we also have a library of federal agency documents, decisions, and appeals. Here's BNA in its native platform. We used this once in class already. And this is also a place that we could look to find agency decisions. BNA additionally has loose leaf publications in print, and all the ones that they focus on are in highly regulated areas, so we'll definitely see regulations and agency decisions in the loose leaf collections. So the BNA, we have choice of print, the BNA interface, or what's available on Bloomberg Law. Here's an example on CCH and Teleconnect. CCH is also another publisher of loose leafs that includes agency decisions, and what I did was I just drilled down so that you could see one of them. I'm here in tax materials, and I just highlighted for you some of the administrative agency decisions that would be available on CCH and Teleconnect in this area. Finally, as I mentioned earlier, agency websites are really fabulous for finding agency decisions. They've often become the fastest and cheapest place to find these agency decisions. This one is the Executive Office for Immigration Review, and I just cut the top of the page, but you can see that it has clickable links to decisions up through this year. Some final tips for finding agency decisions: really use your secondary sources and your annotated codes, KeyCite shepherds, current awareness materials. You can also browse government websites to find those docket numbers and those case citations, and then you can take those docket numbers and case citations and use the sources we've talked about in this slideshow, the agency websites or Westlaw, to find the full text of the agency decisions. This concludes our second video. We're going to have one final video that's going to be very briefly talking about agency decisions at the state level.